Welcome to Art Bazaar, a podcast that chats with artists of all types to explore the depths of creativity. Brought to you by the Alternative Gallery. We'll be releasing new episodes every Wednesday with bonus episodes dropping randomly. If you like what you're hearing, you can support this podcast by going to thealternativegallery.com and clicking on the podcast tab. I'm your host, Brendan Wonder, Creative Director of the Alternative Gallery, a non-profit arts organization in Allentown, PA, run through the efforts of dedicated volunteers. On this episode of Art Bazaar, we're chatting with Abbey Rosko, a visual artist from Easton, PA. Abbey graduated from Moravian University with a BA in studio art and continues to expand her craft, working mainly with oils and beautiful still life portraiture. You can view her work by visiting her website, AbbeyRosko.com. And this weekend, Abbey will be having an open studio for those who want to view her art in person. Those dates are Saturday, April 27th and Sunday, April 28th at 22 South 3rd Street, room number 8 in Easton, PA, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Today, she'll be telling us all about that. Hello, Abbey. Welcome to the Art Bazaar.
Hello.
Thanks for coming out. How you doing today?
I'm good.
You survived your crazy trip down Route 22, huh?
Yeah.
Couple wrecks there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's not a wreck? All the amazing work you do.
Thank you.
It's a good segue. You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
And, because you have a BA in studio art, and I think for a lot of artists who maybe didn't attend university or college, they might not know what studio art is. Can you maybe give us some insight?
Studio art is, I went to Moravian and it was for art. It was for painting and drawing, and a little bit of 3D, a little bit of sculpture. It's just kind of like an all well-rounded arts education plus art history.
Very nice. So I would assume that studio art is kind of excluding other types of art formats and mediums, and is kind of specific to those things you mentioned.
Yes.
So you practice in sculpture and you work in sculpture a little bit. I've never seen any sculpture from you. Do you still do that?
No.
No? That was just to get through college?
Yeah, I didn't really do anything with 3D stuff, not really.
Didn't connect with you?
No.
So what kind of work do you do? How would you explain your work? I know it's hard sometimes to explain your art, but for someone who may not have seen it, what would you say?
It's painting. It's 2D work. Oil painting, and I do work that's very representational, but also putting a little impressionist, twist on it, but mostly representational, realistic.
Are you working in any specific series right now, or are you just kind of painting as you get inspired?
Honestly, right now, I've been doing a lot of commission work for people, and that has involved doing portraits of people. A
lot of portraits?
Yes, and a lot of landscapes.
Is that your bread and butter?
Yeah.
Are you surviving solely from being an artist?
No.
No? I'm sorry to hear that.
No, not really. I mean, it's doing better each year, so that's a positive, but I also do other things. I substitute teach sometimes. But yes, portraiture which is funny because I never thought that I was really, really good at doing portraits. And a lot of the faces that I, paint and show that aren't commissions are kind of little blurry and, obscured a little bit. So I always thought it was kind of interesting that people saw that and thought, oh, let's have her do a painting of our anniversary picture.
Because it's not an exact photographic representation as some people might expect or look for.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's unique because your style is quite unique. How did you kind of land on that style?
I don't know. I guess growing up, I looked at Andrew Wyeth a lot, and I also looked at Edward Hopper. Those would be like my two main go-to painters that I would look at, and also George Bellows. So like a lot of American painters from the early 20th century. So I have a lot of that, I guess, influence in my painting. I guess just mix that with how I learned to draw and paint, and that's what we have.
Did you create art as a little kid too, or is this more of an academic thing that emerged as you went into high school and college?
I was always drawing my whole life.
What kind of stuff did you draw as a kiddo?
People.
People?
Yeah.
So you were always attracted to portraiture, even though you didn't realize it.
Yeah. Well, I guess I think I always wanted to be doing some type of comic type thing, storytelling, screenwriting. That's what I did with my best friend growing up, was drawing pictures of characters and writing dialogue for them. But then I guess as I, got older and learned about, I don't know, just different ways of drawing other than cartoon style, like manga, I think I liked more of this traditional Western style and just kind of fell away from wanting to create like a comic book.
So no comic book in the future for AbbeyRosko?
Well, not yet.
Maybe. I like that you want to keep it in the cards there.
Oh, it's there, but I don't know. I can't figure it out yet.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like something's brewing. Sometimes it takes a while, though.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that you basically wanted to create screenplays almost and kind of tell these cinematic stories because as I mentioned to you with some of your work, they felt very cinematic. Mm-hmm. With the way that you frame, especially those really wide paintings you were doing, they felt cinematic. It felt like you were watching like a super widescreen film on the big screen. Was that intentional?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to do that. I'm wondering what painting you have exactly in mind. There was a time where I was doing a series of paintings based on screenshots I was taking from movies. So there was that series.
Yeah, so you did one on Fargo.
Yes, yeah.
What other films?
A movie called Mikey and Nikki. It was directed by Elaine May. It was from the 70s. So that was like a whole series too. But I mean, I guess it's this kind of back and forth of when I want to paint something, I see it as a scene in a movie. So there's that plus I like movies, so I'm also painting straight from a movie.
What kind of movies do you find yourself watching now?
Just anything. I like older movies.
Yeah.
Always older.
Like a certain style, like French New Wave, you like Japanese films, you like silent films?
I do like silent films, and I like also some musicals, just some from like the 40s, and I like a lot of any movie that was supposed to be funny or is funny is always top of the list.
Do you like modern comedies?
I just don't go and watch too many. They're good. No, they are good. I can think of just a couple that come to my mind right now. Yeah. Like, what was that movie that came out with David Spade recently? With,
I don't know what he was in recently. Let's look it up. What was David Spade in?
It was on Netflix. It was like, The Wrong Missy.
Oh, I didn't even know about that. I don't have Netflix anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Was it good?
I think I was just keying in on you saying raunchy and new comedy movies, and I'm like, that one popped up.
He could be raunchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a podcast too. I was listening to it the other day with, he did an episode with Will Arnett.
Oh, yeah.
I love Will Arnett.
Yeah.
Which, he emerged onto the scene with Arrested Development. You like that show?
Yes.
That was a really special show.
Yeah, that was
But then
really
that
good.
gap was too long between the original series and the Netflix series, and then they were all too busy. And
yeah.
You watched the revival series?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh.
I don't think I did.
It's good, but it's different because everyone's schedules were so busy that they couldn't really film together. So each episode is kind of about one character, and you don't really see the characters on screen too often.
Okay.
So it's a very different vibe.
Oh,
Yeah. Unfortunately so. When someone comes to you for commission, do they already have an idea in mind? Do you kind of have to help them figure out where they want to get with it?
So I'll explain that the commission thing it started 2 years ago in the spring, and it was, an attempt to make money as an artist. And I thought, this would be really easy for people to if I just make a really low price, flat rate, and if they just supply the picture, I'll just copy the picture straight up. We're not going to make it more complicated than that. And it's like, here you go. And it's not going to be bigger than about whatever I had said, and it would just be like, just give me the picture, I'll make a painting interpretation of it, and you'll buy it, and it's over. And it really took off. Did
you stick with that, though, or did you start getting more playful with it as you went?
No, I just would they wanted this picture made into a painting, and I would pretty much just copy it as is. I didn't.
So you stuck to that original core rule that you gave yourself there.
Yeah.
Good for you. An artist with discipline, that is rare for me to find. It truly is.
It was a really great thing to do. I mean, I was able to get more paintings on people's walls that way, because what are the odds that I would paint something that someone else would want to buy? That was kind of I don't know. I just feel like maybe the things that I choose to paint aren't things that other people want to put in their homes.
Yeah, that's where photography has always kind of had a leg up on painting or other forms of art because it has more of a commercial appeal.
Yeah.
And you may do your own individualistic photography work, but it's very easy for you to be essentially a hired gun to go and just film something, shoot something for someone.
Yeah.
Shooting a birthday, shooting a wedding, anything that somebody might need. And you're kind of tapping into the same thing with these portraits.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
That's very, very good.
Thanks.
You're in galleries and stuff like that as well. You exhibited a bunch of different places, right?
Yes.
What kind of places do you typically exhibit at?
Recently, I was in Connections last spring with a solo show. And then I think the summer before that was Sterner Modern Gallery. Both of those galleries are in Easton. I've shown at the Bethlehem House Gallery and then the Allentown Art Museum with their Cocktails and Collecting showcase. And just, around Bethlehem, anywhere in between there. And
Lehigh University, I saw, right?
yeah, Lehigh University.
I ask these questions because it might pinpoint a different gallery that somebody might not have known about, but also certain types of spaces reflects kind of, because artists are always in their own subgenre, right? So
True,
what subgenre
yes.
you fall in? Because you fall in, dare I say, more with the fine art crowd, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, right, I do, yeah.
And you can still do a little bit of the pop art, which I think is fun.
Yeah. And I just thought of one. I'm at the International Fusion Museum in Easton also.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about starting your own space?
No.
No? Because it's just, I feel like there aren't enough spaces for artists in the Valley. What do you think about that?
I agree.
Yeah?
I agree.
What kind of space do you think we need?
I think we need a space where, like, multi-use venue. I think I would like to see more gallery and also used for, any types of shows.
Live performances, screenings, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Plus, maybe a bar and coffee.
And that was kind of the idea that we had with the artist takeover downtown, where it's like, you got a million sports bars everywhere, not just in Allentown and Lehigh Valley, but all over the place you get sports bars, right? But where's the art bar?
Yeah.
Where's the place for artists to go, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of try to do that over at the America's Hotel, which we are planning one hopefully next month in May.
Nice.
Have another artist meetup. We've just been so busy this first couple months of the year getting the resident artist program and everything going here.
Oh, nice.
Taking care of the building, looking after things. But we got to have one again. And we love doing it there. We're going to keep doing them there. But you're right. We need a dedicated place for these artists to just be able to let loose, not just during events.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had some kind of an art bar, what would be your association with that? Would you just drop in when there's events, or would you just drop in randomly to see what's going on?
Yeah, just like a hub.
Yeah.
Just going in regularly, monthly or weekly, and just seeing what's on the walls and what's coming up on the schedule with maybe there'll be stand-up or music, rock band, or I don't know what.
Yeah, it's always great when a place has different mediums of art involved, because then you kind of intermix those crowds, which audiences cross-promoting with each other, I think just helps in the end.
It does, yeah.
So what's your studio situation like? Are you in an art building over there in Easton?
No, it's a it's a Masonic building.
Interesting.
So
do you have to be a Freemason to rent there?
Luckily, no.
Okay, good. You just answered another question then.
It's a little bit of a complicated space, but it's neat. It's a lot of old people who own the building, and the downstairs part is for right now it's rented out by antique shops. The second floor of the building they have it rented to artists, and they try to have artists. We have a watercolorist, a oil painter, and we have a framer guy, ceramicist. It's a nice space, but it's a little old-fashioned, but it's good. It works for me because I like the isolation. That's important for me.
I think it's really important with the space, and that's kind of one of the downfalls, not downfalls, but one of the strikes against the spaces we have here at the Cigar Factory is that they're so open, so you don't have that seclusion I think some artists long for, which I would have liked to have really enclosed some of these spaces, but for right now it is what it is. But I love the fact that your space over there has an antique store on the first floor.
Yeah.
That is badass.
Yeah. That is really neat. I do like that a lot.
I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Like moving forward, that should almost be a necessity. Any art space should also have like an antique store associated with it. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because, think about like if someone's doing a still life or needs some kind of prop for something, say a photographer, you just go downstairs at the antique store, boom, what do you got?
Yeah.
Works out for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you go shopping there?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Do you, like, when you go into the studio, do you stop there beforehand and check out what they got?
Yeah, sometimes. Just take a little stroll, take a break.
Now, what's your studio schedule like? Do you have like a set schedule, or do you just kind of pop in your free time or when you're inspired?
Well, so I just come in if I have a day off or a bunch of days off. That just means that every day I go in the morning and I work all day, and I take maybe eat lunch, eat a snack, whatever, work, and until I feel like okay, that was enough. And sometimes it's till dinner, or sometimes it's way past dinner, and that's pretty much the schedule. If I work, that means I'm back. I'm at school or at work, and I just probably just take that whole day off because I kind of need like a whole section of time. I'm bad at just popping in for like, oh, I'm just going to work for an hour or two. I can't. It kind of takes me like a good half an hour just to
prep
and get into it. So yeah.
You also work in oil, which is a slow process.
Yeah.
What is the average duration of time it takes to create a painting, roughly? I know everything's different.
I guess I would say, here's what I'll base it off of. I went to the Philosophy House, which used to exist, and it's in Phillipsburg. It was a live, model painting session. They gave us 6 hours to work with the model, and I could pretty much, make a painting within those 6 hours. So we'll base it off of, 6 hours.
That's pretty great.
But meaning that it was timed and,
Sure.
So I guess we could say 6 hours, but...
What happened to that place? They closed or they stopped doing that event?
Yeah, they stopped. I think it was just a little bit of scheduling and how things fall apart,
Yeah. And, it just seems so much is closing right now, too. Like, we lost, last year, the art establishment closed.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know what's happening with Bethlehem House Gallery. I know they're moving. I don't know if they're moving or closing or what's going on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they made an announcement right before their spring show that they were moving locations, but they didn't say where they were moving to or what's going to happen, so I'm a little concerned. I don't know if, rents went way up or what happened, but you know how it is. Rents are out of control right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's what happened with the Philosophy House, because I know the artist who ran it, Dorian, and I know that he was really putting himself out there with it to make it happen, was using his own resources.
Yeah, it's really tough to run these creative spaces.
Yeah.
And, there's very little in the way of resources to fund them. Everyone has to be kind of creative on their own.
Yeah.
Because there's so little funding. And I know Easton and Phillipsburg, I think, are much better off in the way of the arts than Allentown may be.
Yes.
Because you're the proximity to New York City, and I think the fact that it's not this wanting to try to be a major city like Allentown is trying to be, and it can lean into the small business, which is what I think Easton does so well.
Yep.
You have not far from where you are the Quadrant bookstore.
Yes.
Every town should have a place like that. Not only a cool bookstore with used books, but they make food there too.
Yeah.
You can get yourself it's a high-end omelet and, buy yourself, an old copy of, for this one's for Chris Jones, Catcher in the Rye. He loves that one a lot. But yeah, we need these little places like that. And I think Easton does it really well. And if they didn't do that well, you would not have a location like that.
No.
Because aside from this building here, I wouldn't know where to send an artist to rent a space for a studio in Allentown.
I wouldn't know either.
Yeah.
Because I'm always looking.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm always looking.
Well, back in the day, you actually had a studio here.
I did, yeah.
You shared it with a couple other artists. Emily Strong and who else was in there with you?
It was peers of mine. So Cheyenne and Josh Shedler.
Yeah, you all went to Moravian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. It was like a little Moravian student studio there.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And you guys were just turning out art. Remember that?
Yeah.
Artwork, especially you. I think you were probably the most prolific artist in there. Would you say?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, all I would remember is walking in the hallway and there's like 3 new Abbey paintings every other week. So that was a lot. Now, do you only create at your studio, or do you have like a little spot at home dedicated for creation as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I work at my studio. I prefer being at the studio, but if there are I know there might be, these next 3 days, I know I'm going to be home. So I'll just have, an extra easel at home. It's all set up. So if I need to do something over there, I can.
You have a month's worth of wash you have to catch up on. So you just kind of paint in between it, or maybe it's 2:00 in the morning and inspiration strikes. Has that ever happened?
No.
No?
No, I'm very, I have a strict schedule. I like going to bed early, waking up early, getting to work. Yeah.
Early riser.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I would love to do that. It's just not happening. Ever since I was a kid, I have this night owl schedule. I don't know.
Well, it's just whatever schedule works. You gotta work with yourself. So.
Is that a natural schedule for you, or did you have to kind of work on that?
It's natural.
Natural?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Sleep schedules are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I read something recently that people used to sleep at least 10 hours a night before the invention of the light bulb.
I believe it.
A minimum, because, we have these artificial lights in our phones and our televisions and everything else that just kind of keep us up, kind of tricks us to thinking it's still daylight out and you want to go out and do stuff.
Yeah. How nice was that time?
I know. I know.
I don't think there's a
well,
soul.
it's 6:05 and the sun's down. I guess I'll go sleep for 13 hours.
Yeah. There's not a soul
I know.
who sleeps 10 hours.
I was just watching this really amazing documentary about a village in Japan, and it was a little fishing village, and they had in this house off to the side of the kitchen was a hole in the ground, and there was water, and basically they had these waterways in between all the homes, and they weren't koi, they were some kind of like a pond fish that like swim right into the opening in the kitchen. And essentially what it was, like, this was their sink, and they would throw their food scraps and wash their dishes there. And the fish they wouldn't eat, they were ornamental, but they were also there to eat the food scraps. And the food scraps would have contaminated the water supply otherwise. So the fish worked in tandem with the kitchen and also were ornamental and also attracted other types of life. So it was like this very, and it just like makes me wish that I had this like connection with nature like that. And those guys are definitely going to bed early and waking up early, especially in the harvest times, harvest months there. And in the summer, it's so hot, they're just like laying there sweating to death.
Yeah.
Do you get out and get that connection with nature? Because even Easton isn't, it's still a city. You don't really, you have little touches of nature, but do you long for nature being in a city?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm from New Tripoli, so, and then I still, live with my parents out there, so I'm thrilled to come back home and walk around in the woods.
You're very lucky. You're very, very lucky.
I am.
And you went to school out there too, New Tripoli?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did they ever take field trips out to any kind of like cool nature excursions?
Yeah. We would go to Big Oven Knob.
Hawk
Mountain.
Hang out with all the stoners.
Yeah.
Speaking of stoners, this past weekend was 420. I bet it was cram-packed up there.
Yeah.
I actually went up to New York and New York City, and we ended up at Washington Square Park at one point, and there was this huge festival going on. And it was amazing. It's like what America would be if the liberals took over, really took over, and it was just live music and vendors and groups of people that were just, some people had drinks, a lot of people were smoking. It was 420, but no one was obscene about it. Like nothing was crazy or over the top, and people were kind of self-policing themselves, and it really gave me hope. And it's like, man, these people are on the right side of things, and if we really got our shit together, this is what daily life could be, even in cities.
Yeah.
So that just, speaking of Bake Oven Knob, reminded me of that. So you've shown in New York too, speaking of New York, right?
Yeah.
What do you do up there?
I guess recently I had one painting in a group show at Hal Brom, which is in, it's like Tribeca.
Tribeca.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's really mainly because of the stand-up comedian and artist, Joey Tepedino. He's cranking out a lot of great art right now, and he's able to show there regularly, and he introduced me, so that's how I was able to be shown there. Yeah.
Does he do comedy up in New York as well?
I don't know. I think he's mainly local.
That's the spot for it in New York.
Yeah.
Comedy scene there is wild.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Lehigh Valley comedians just develop their material and move to New York and really make it for themselves. Being a professional working comedian.
Yeah.
And I think anytime an artist can make a living off of what they do, like that's a major win, especially in the United States.
Yeah.
Have you traveled abroad at all?
No.
No?
Nope.
Where would you like to go if you could? Come on, Abby. You don't put more thought into this? Going traveling?
No.
You can go anywhere in the world. Where would you go? I'll buy you a ticket right now if you tell me. Thank God, because I have no money.
I guess I would go to France.
France.
I'll go to Paris because, I spend enough time trying to learn the language. I'll just go.
La garçon mange. That means the boy eats. I used to study French and then I forgot everything immediately.
La poubelle.
La poubelle. What does that mean?
The garbage.
The garbage. All right. You're not applying that to yourself in any way, right?
No.
Okay, good. That's just something that sticks with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Being an artist, obviously, we're kind of drawn to other artists. I know you've had a lot of art friends throughout, the time I've known you. Do you still have like a general community of artists that you surround yourself with and work with?
Probably just the main core that I've always, I still keep up with Emily Strong. I mean, I am not like the most social person in the world as far as like going out and always seeing people. Like I don't get a lot of, I'm more like classic introvert. I feel better just working and being alone. And it's not that I have an issue with other people at all. It's just not my comfort zone or makes me feel, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I still, keep in touch, a little bit with mainly the Moravian peers and anyone who I have met through being, in Easton. There's Elizabeth Snelling who, she also helped me get a show in Easton too. So yeah, and then Danny Moyer's great, and
he's my old middle school art teacher.
Yeah.
In Whitehall Middle School.
Yeah.
When he first started teaching.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember being in 6th grade. When you're a kid, anyone that's like 20 years old or older just seems so old in comparison, right?
Yeah.
I felt like he was double my age at least back then. Now I feel like we're the same age, him and I. It's so weird. Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Because we're hanging out at events. He doesn't drink anymore, but when we first started the gallery and he still drank, we'd be hanging out having drinks. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Right now I'm drinking with my middle school art teacher.
Yeah.
And he's a funny guy. I like him a lot. And I'm glad he's stuck with it all these years.
Mm-hmm.
He used to show a lot over at, what was it called? Our Garage Space. Mm-hmm. Right? Remember that little space? It was operated by Tom D'Angelo and his wife, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
They had that really cool garage. Yeah. I love that
Yeah.
space. Yeah, and then I guess they closed, I think, a year or so before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And didn't he open up another space?
I don't...
There in Easton?
I don't think so.
No, I thought there was another gallery that he did there. Maybe I'm wrong. I forget. But yeah, I unfortunately miss so much trying to run this place because even so many nights when we have events, that's when other events are taking place.
Yeah.
And then like even if we don't have events, it's like trying to take care of the place.
Yeah.
In an old building, leaky roofs, leaky windows, trying to make sure the art doesn't get destroyed.
Yeah.
But, so we miss a lot, but I'm trying to make it a point to get out to a lot more stuff this year. Now, we covered the gallery world. I know you used to vend. Do you still go out and vend at events?
No.
No?
No.
Why not?
I'm not saying it like no, like never. I mean it like it's a little too much work and effort on my part and not enough payoff in the end.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, it is a lot of work.
If it paid, if it was worth it by the end of the day of all of the hauling and...
It's a shit ton of work,
Yeah,
I know.
it's all too much work, not enough pay.
You've vended at Arts Fest before, right? Allentown Arts Fest, when we did it down at Cedar Beach.
I don't think
No?
Nope. Nope.
I was going to ask how you did there. For some reason, I thought you were.
Again, I just don't know if I make like the type of work where someone would just walk up to it and see like, oh, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
I feel like because my stuff can be so personal, so it can be really rare to find someone who wants to buy it.
Yeah. I know painting is tough in general.
It is.
It's just, and you're right. I think your stuff is more suited for the gallery world.
Yeah.
And I was looking through your Instagram, some of the stuff, because it looks like you've had your Instagram for a while, and you got a lot of paintings on there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, your stuff would really work well in a book.
Yeah.
How many paintings roughly do you think, like personal paintings, non-commissions, roughly that you think you've done? 300, 400?
Yeah, that's probably a good estimate there, yeah.
And how many do you still have out of those?
Less than 70.
That's still a good amount. You have 70 of your paintings.
Yeah.
Wow. You should get those scanned. You take photos of them all, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your upcoming open studio. Is that something you're hosting on your own? Is there like a community event going on this is a part of?
That's a part of the ACE, which is the Artists Collective of Easton. They are sponsoring and heading it, and they've made like information and graphics and maps. And so it's basically the artists of Easton sign up and say that I will have my studio open on these 2 days. And they make a map and people can walk around Easton and find these places like an Easter egg hunt and go to the studios and see the artists.
That's amazing. And they're literally all throughout Easton, or is it kind of in one condensed area?
I haven't seen the map exactly. I think, Easton is very walkable and
As a city should be.
Yeah. Comparatively, yeah. And I think it's mostly, I want to say, near the Circle downtown. But there's also, I'm pretty sure 1120 building, which is on West Ward. I think they're on the map.
Cool.
So that's probably more like, I don't know, I want to say a mile away from the Circle or something. I don't know, but yeah.
Is this your first time taking part in this event?
No, this would be my, it would actually be my third, but last year I had plans that weekend, so I wasn't there. So this is my second time hosting my open studio with Ace.
Nice. Is this the third year you've been in this studio then?
Yeah.
What were you doing before that? Just working out of your house?
Yeah.
No, because it's been a few years since you had the studio here, so I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have a few more other artists there who are also going to be involved, right?
Yes.
In the open studio. And that's the thing, too. Like, it's awesome, but also a bummer. It's someone in your position because you can't go around and see the other art. At least it's more difficult because you got to be there at your spot.
Yeah, that's the downside. Is that I have to stay in my room.
I know.
Like I'm grounded in my studio.
But I'm sure you're very comfortable there.
Yeah.
What kind of artists are inspiring you right now? Is there anything that's like holy shit?
Well, I'm always on Instagram, and looking out for, new representational figurative painters that are really oh my God, blowing my mind. So I don't know their names right now off the top of my head.
But painters in general, you're kind of drawn towards?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I can't think of any name. I can't do any name dropping. Nothing's coming to mind. Oh, okay. Well, I like Mark Tennant a lot. You might have seen or heard of him. He's a New York-based artist.
What kind of works he do?
They're large oil paintings of figures, but also very blurry and obscured. They almost seem a little photographic. Maybe they were painted from some old film.
Isn't it amazing how so many people thought that painting was going to disappear because of photography?
Yeah.
And here, all it did was kind of adapt into a new form of art.
Yeah.
I mean, the basis of it is still the same, but to see, I love that. I love seeing painting being inspired by photographic technique.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
And it shows you how, when it comes to the arts, everything just kind of inspires everything else.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, the thing that people thought was going to destroy it actually, I don't want to say improved it, but it added this extra layer to it.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have thought to do it otherwise, right?
Right.
So what's the creative process like for you? When you get an idea, oh my God, I have to paint this? Or is it, do you just feel like you're grinding them out because you have to? When do you get creative with it?
I guess I just kind of, I don't know. I live my life. And as I live my life, I notice things if I'm, walking around somewhere, or if I'm, I did a bunch of paintings where my boyfriend, Joe Ferrero, does stand up, and I, I'm just in the room and I'm like, this would be kind of neat picture to take a little cell phone shot of him doing stand up or someone in the crowd and doing a painting based on that. So it's just whatever, it has to strike me. I'm not really coming up with an idea in my head. I'm just doing things, and then some, a bolt of it's just psh, right now.
When you take that photo, do you realize then that you want to paint it? Or is it sometimes until you see the photo afterwards? Which, how does it normally go for you? I'm curious.
It can go either way. And many times that the picture that I set out to take and think this is going to be my next painting, it won't be. And it will be some other picture I took that I just took for, whatever keepsake, reason I took it. So it can go either way.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the creative process because it works differently for everyone.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to peel back those layers of how it works for someone. You're an early bird. You like to go to bed early and get up early there. You're not getting any kind of late night inspirations and you want to paint. Do you save that if you get that?
Yeah, I just never got that.
Yeah?
If it's past, 9, I'm usually just inspired to sleep.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I think that art has such a major impact on the world and society and the way we think. but it's not always acknowledged in such a way. And when I say art, I don't just mean paintings or sculpture, because to me it would be movies and video games and music and poetry and books.
Yeah.
Even cereal boxes have art.
Right. It's everywhere. We can't get away.
That's right.
We can't escape.
Yeah. So how do you think it impacts, like, maybe like on the subconscious level, people see art, like, okay, the cereal box, when you're eating breakfast, right? I don't know if you do this. When I'm sitting there eating a bowl of cereal, I want to have the box with me, and I'm looking at it. And just looking at that box, it creates a different experience with having that breakfast.
Yeah.
And that, I love that there's cartoony things and fun things, because, I like the kids' cereals, right?
Right.
So it makes it more enjoyable than if it were just, literally, they could just make a white box of, say, Frosted Flakes or whatever cereal. They don't have to make it nifty or fun, but they do. And it makes it different in some way. Why do you think that is?
I think they're trying to get your money, Brandon.
So they're just after my money?
They're after your money.
Not after my heart?
Yeah.
Just my pocketbook? Well, there's a lot more heart than there is money. If they were smart, they'd go after the heart, but I get your point. But no, but you see my point though? Like, I know it obviously is marketing. Marketing is their main thing.
Yeah, bright colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're aiming for children.
Children, yes.
Yeah. If the children want it, adults have to buy it, then they get everything they want.
You're talking to someone who likes to have eggs in the morning.
So no cereal boxes.
No cereal boxes.
Maybe you gotta change it up. You know what? You want to borrow some of my empty ones? You could just take one home and while you're eating your eggs, just so you can get that full experience. One morning it's gonna dawn on you, be like, so this is what he was talking about. One day, you didn't do that as a kid, even just sit there and look at the box.
Not really.
Oh my God, Abby! I feel like you missed out on an integral part of growing up as a child in America. Here, what kind of cartoons did you watch growing up? I'm curious.
I watched Madeline.
Okay.
I watched Pappyland.
So you're like PBS.
Yeah, I guess.
You didn't watch like Nickelodeon.
Well, then at a certain age, I could pick
Cartoon
Network or Nickelodeon. I think I was more of a Cartoon Network person. I liked Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Okay. Ed, and Eddy is a great show. We grew up in a good era of cartoons. And
we did.
And I think, because it was an interesting era because they didn't have adult animation. Back then, adult animation was like pornographic cartoons.
Yeah.
Now it's like Family Guy and South Park. And there's been this divergence. Now you have children animation, adult animation, and both can be taken serious. Back then, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So they had to like kind of hide all this stuff in the kid shows. Well, Ed, and Eddy, they did it somewhat, but not as bad as what they did on Nickelodeon.
Oh, really?
Like Ren and Stimpy, which was straight up.
I never really watched that one.
That's pretty raunchy. Pretty raunchy cartoon.
Yeah.
When's the last time you went to the movies?
What was it? This isn't the right answer, but it's close. The Wes Anderson animation about the dog island
Isle
movie.
of Dogs.
Yeah.
That movie is incredible.
Yeah, that's really good, right?
I love that film. It's a really interesting choice for him because I love The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was the first stop-motion film he had done. And then he decides to do one in Japanese.
Yeah.
'Cause how the hell do you do that if you don't speak Japanese? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because almost the entire film was in Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great film.
Yeah.
A little sad, but great.
Yeah.
That's a few years ago, Abby. You got to get out to the movies more. When there's not events going on in Easton, what else do you get involved with? Like, how do you find your way into these gallery exhibitions? Is it typically people reaching out to you? Is it people that you meet on your travels?
It's a mix. It can be, I try and go out to openings and meet new people. That's like my new, that's like a must do for me from now on. So, and it's been really nice. And, I always try and make it out to local gallery openings. Sterner Modern is right around the corner from me. Connections is also right around the other corner from me. They're close, so, I feel compelled to go to those. But, Allentown Art Museum and the IF Museum. And that's a really great museum, too. I feel like no one knows about it.
Yeah, that's, what's his face runs at?
Shalom Newman.
Shalom, yeah, he is the right kind of off the wall.
Yeah.
He is quite the character. We need these eccentrics. Mm-hmm. Now, has Easton's kind of embraced him, right? I know the city was kind of against him for a while because of his signage. He was putting he put up the sign that said shithole after Trump called a bunch of basically Central American country shitholes. He put that there.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of pushback. That's still there, right?
Yeah, I know that he has like bullshit written on the side of his studio building, and the neighbors were mad, and he went to, someone sued him, or I don't know, some city sued him for having bullshit written on his building, which is bullshit.
That is bullshit. I'm glad you said it because I was about to. And it's still there, right?
Yeah, it's still there.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Standing strong to what you believe. I love it. So many people say that, the artist should just create work. If you're a musician, if you're an entertainer, just entertain. It's like, well, if I got something to say, I'm going to say it. And he's definitely got something to say, and I love it.
Yeah.
What kind of events have you attended there? Because for some reason, I don't typically see the things happening there until after they already happen.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but and it's not just, I'm not talking about the IF Museum. I'm talking about a lot of different venues in our area that people don't know about, and they are doing really good things and really nice events that people don't get to hear about. But the IF Museum has openings, and they do live bands play, and they also have the stand-up comedy shows.
Where do they park? Where do they park? Is it like a parking lot close by?
There's a new parking garage right nearby.
How long has he been there for now? A few years. It's been probably about 10 years almost.
Yeah, 10 I'd say. How
big is this space?
It's big. The building it used to be a boys' school.
Okay. Oh wow. So multiple levels, and the whole thing is art.
The first floor.
First floor.
Yeah.
Living quarters upstairs.
Yeah, like a studio.
That's the way to do it. Be able to have, wouldn't you like to do that? I personally think that for most artists, it's better to have your studio outside of your living quarters.
Yeah.
Because environment is so important. Now, obviously, everyone's different.
Yeah.
But I think the general artist, it's best for them to get out of that living environment and get into the work mode.
Yeah.
But to have that where you can just go downstairs and to be able to develop that where it's still separate but still so close. Because I do know a lot of artists that in the middle of the night, they maybe not their typical schedule to create, but if they get inspired in the middle of the night, because I think for us, there's so much noise in the head for the artists, right? And it's not until the rest of the world calms down that we can kind of, I don't even want to say focus on that noise, but maybe grab something out of it to control it.
Yeah.
That's what happens for me. That's when I'm just grabbing at things and just being very creative.
Yeah.
To live above it. Would you ever have that kind of setup?
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. That would be perfect.
Well, you should buy this Freemason building. Keep the antique store. You're on the second floor. Is there a third floor?
There's a basement that this building used to be the prison for Easton in the 1700s when Easton was founded. It was the jail.
That's crazy.
So they still have, the basement has the shackles.
Torture chamber. Okay. Nice, I guess. It's history.
And the third, there is a third floor, and that would be the temple.
Is it still active? This is weird as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So in the old 1700s era Easton prison, they kept the shackles, and then on the top floor, they built a Mason lodge?
Oh, no. Well, that was later when when it became a Masonic building, and that was way later.
Yeah.
But I'm just stating that building has been there for that long.
It's a strange mix of things.
Yeah, and was
years.
the prison, yeah.
And now there's art in it, which for most of us is our own prison, because once you, there's that great quote, it's it goes for, I've heard it for several different mediums of art, music and photography mainly, teach a man photography, keep him poor his whole life. Because the gear is so expensive.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly expensive. One lens can be $2,000.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, I'll give you $50 to shoot my wedding. What? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself in that position, being undervalued as an artist? People want to give you way less than you think you should, or you deserve.
I mean, I want to say yes to that. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I'm also really grateful that I have people who want to buy it in general. So maybe they don't have a lot of money. They're not affluent or super rich. So
when you price these things out, you're trying to be mindful.
Yeah, mindful. Yeah.
Is a base price? Or you'd be well, you're kind of a pain in the ass, so it's going to be double. Or do you have a base price?
I don't want to make a painting for under $200 unless it's really tiny.
Really tiny.
I don't know.
What's the smallest you've ever done?
6x6.
6x6?
Or maybe 4x4.
Was it Marianne Riker, right? She's over there in Easton. She's doing those like little tiny.
Yeah.
How big are those things? Like
I don't
1 by
know.
1 inch?
I don't know. They're like a postage stamp.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah.
She's amazing. You know her, right?
Yeah.
She is a firecracker, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You party with her at all?
A little bit.
Oh, I got to get her on this. She is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do you ever show with her?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder where her studio is these days. Because she's a bigwig over at Ace.
Yeah.
I would imagine this means you're an Ace member.
Yeah.
And what are the benefits of being an Ace member for those who might be considering joining?
That you're eligible then to exhibit at the places, the venues that they have for exhibiting. So that would be the Seagal Museum. They do a small work show, which is opening this Friday. I didn't put anything in, but...
You get your own space.
And then...
Nurture Nature?
Nurture Nature, I think. Yeah, Nurture Nature. And then I want to say the State Theater still. They do like a fall show at the State Theater. I'm in the lobby. And...
Is there stuff at the Easton Market?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I think that's the other
you're
one.
eligible to show your work there, which is a really good space because it gets a lot of traffic.
A lot of traffic. They got some good food there.
Yes, yeah.
The last time I went, they were like doing renovations and it was like I couldn't get to it. Mm-hmm. That's done now, right?
Yeah,
Good,
that's it. Yeah.
good. I was like, no, because I don't think it was closed, but I was just very confused.
Yeah.
So I just didn't go. And there's, of course, it's not involved with Ace, but just one of the gems there in Easton Lafayette Bar.
Yeah.
One of the only places you can actually catch jazz in Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm trying to open a jazz club. I'm trying.
Yeah.
But it's
like
just...
in here? In the...
Well, not here, because the main issue we have here is the parking just sucks. And
It does.
Yeah, it's terrible. But the parking sucks, but the parking issue is what saved this building. Because if this building didn't have a parking issue, it would just be apartments. Because there's a parking issue, they couldn't put apartments here. Literally, the parking problem is what enabled this place to be artist studios. So that being said, I would like to do it in downtown Allentown, but even though there's so many spaces sitting there, these property owners want like way too much money. Market rate.
Yeah.
What market are you? What market do you think you're a part of? You got 5 dozen vacant storefronts on Hamilton Street. Rent me one for like $1 a month for like a year. Let's get this going.
Yeah.
They would rather wait and see these places potentially rent for what they want than take anything less. And because of it, they've built retail spaces downtown that have never had a tenant. That's crazy. So one of the places is the America's Hotel, which I'm still on the fence about. We're talking about it, but I have experience and a history with the building owner there. And he's the kind of guy that you'll make an agreement of what you're going to do, and then he'll just do whatever he wants anyways. So I'm concerned about that.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be, like everything else, there's not going to be any money to pay me right up front. So they want me to start it, develop it, and basically start running it for no pay. It's like, look, I already do everything else for free. I can't do this for free. And I'm going to go into that, then all of a sudden, what, you're going to pull the rug from under my feet 3 months in and change direction? I don't want to do that. So I'm waiting to see what they end up doing with it. I'm just kind of guiding them like, well, here's what you should do if you want to do live music, right? And just kind of keep my eye open for a dedicated space. But I think if anything, we might do a video store first. Because that is, sitting in my office, which is essentially a video store. It's so necessary.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know if you buy CDs or movies or anything like that, but that's like a huge, huge, huge thing for me.
Yeah.
Especially now, like, you just mentioned Netflix, that David Spade film.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that movie was never released on physical media.
Yes. It wasn't.
And the thing is, mark my words, those are the films in the future that media archaeologists are going to be trying to find because they're lost. Because once they get dropped from a streamer, it's just content. They've moved on to the next thing.
Yes.
And the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. You're going to see these movies are going to be really hard to find and access in the next even 10 years, if not sooner. I mean, the Bob's Burgers movie. You like Bob's Burgers?
Yeah.
Yeah. That came out 2 years ago.
Okay.
You can't walk into a store and buy that on DVD or Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
It's impossible because Best Buy no longer carries it. It's not a new release, so you can't get it at Walmart or Target any longer.
Oh.
So you'd have to go on eBay, buy a used copy, or Scamazon.
Yeah.
Which, it's a shame. And to me, like, I speak so much about physical media in this podcast because to me, it's very similar to what you do. It's painting. Like, it's an art form. It's an artifact. Like, yes, it's mass produced. And some people think that something's only valuable if it's one of a kind. I'm not that person. I understand that something might be more valuable because it's the only one, but I think media is extremely important. Like, I don't think your work is any less valuable if it's put in a book. Some people would see, oh, well, this painting is now in a book. Now the original is worth less, which to me is just crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? You you encounter those people, the originals versus the print collectors? Like, I know there's some collectors that are very anti-print.
Yeah.
You ever encounter that?
Yeah. I mean, you're taught that, though, like in school almost by professors. That's just how it has been. Like, if you're making an original and then you make a print of it, your print will always be worth less than the original.
Not culturally. I mean, financially, maybe. That's up for debate. But I mean, even a print, you can still make prints one of a kind. Like, you could do remarks, you can do touch-ups on it, you can add, there's no rule. So for someone to say that a print is automatically going to be worth less, I mean, generally speaking, yes. So are you kind of taught that just to keep that in mind, or as a way to dissuade you from making prints?
I guess just educating us that is how it's viewed by most people. And I mean, I kind of agree when in terms of painting, I mean, a print isn't the same as a painting, original painting.
Yeah. So in what situations do you find value in there being prints of a painting?
The value is that, like, if you have a print, it just means, I don't know, it's just you're just making extra money off of the original. So it just seems a little almost capitalist-y to just kind of keep making, let's try and make a little more money off of this first thought.
But on the flip side, I think not making prints is actually kind of capitalistic, because then you're trying to increase the rarity and the financial value. And the way that I see prints is making art accessible to people that maybe can't afford an original painting.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
And that's my big push for why people should collect prints and why artists should make prints, because, I mean, you can sell your painting and for 50 years, the rest of your life, you can keep making money off that. That's one thing. Another thing is, I know a lot of artists, and maybe you've done this too at some point, they really drop the value, they really drop the price, the asking price of a piece because they need money. They want it $500, but someone offered them $3. They took it even though they didn't really want to. I think when you have prints available, you're less inclined to do that because you do have another avenue to make money off your work. Which, again, I'm a terrible business person. So anything I do, it's not about business first. It's about making things accessible and the cultural and artistic significance of it. But I mean, as an artist trying to survive, I think prints are incredibly important. And it doesn't make the original any less rare. Is that something that's discussed openly in a college setting? Or is it kind of like, you might not want to do prints because it degrades the value or makes the original seem less attractive?
It just happens to be something professors would say.
Interesting.
They would like bring, if they were bringing up business related things with, being an artist and money, and they would just be like, when you make a print, remember that was devaluing your original because you've made a print. And I'm like,
I totally disagree with that.
I'm not too worried about it because I'm just, it's not like my original's going for $1 million and
but I think it's just my opinion, and even with the professors and any textbook that's written, that's also someone else's opinion. There's no rules. It's just some shit someone made up. So it's a game of opinions here, right? I would say they're teaching artists wrong by saying that. Because the print...
I was taught wrong, left, right, up, and down.
Well, I think that's true with most things, but I just think it's a really odd precedent to set because the print and the original are separate. The print shouldn't impact the value on the original to any degree other than what I feel I just mentioned about, well, now that I can still make money off of that piece of art, I can actually get what I feel this work is worth and not have to reduce the price just to put food on the table, right?
Yeah.
Because you've gotten prints made here at the gallery. What situations did you make those prints? Like, what was your intended purpose for those prints? To just show the work, to sell them? I'm curious.
To see what they would look like as prints, because now that's not, the size isn't 1-to-1. I'm seeing it as like a smaller version of my painting, which I thought was interesting. And just to to see if anyone would be interested in buying a print. Now, I haven't invested the time or the energy to be pushing prints on people, but they're out. I have them out in the room, so if someone would walk in, they would see them. But
so for you, it was more of an experiment than anything.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I remember when we were doing that, we were very careful to color match those and get them as close to the original as possible, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel about the print quality, in comparison to the original? Was it nearly identical?
Yeah, we could get it perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, there's no rules of prints either. You can make it. Some people think you have to make a print look exactly like the original.
Yeah.
But you can make it you decide, you know what, I want to have more of a blue hue to this. I think it's too warm. It should have been cooler. Mm-hmm. You can do that. You can add in like I said, hand done elements, making one of a kind. Mm-hmm. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, other people from the fine art world, do they kind of have that same sentiment about prints? Like it's originals only, and we don't want to do prints. Do you find that a lot?
I don't know what the overarching feeling is about it. I would say probably fine artists feel that way too. That it's kind of more like, let's just not do prints because it now is kind of devaluing the original.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't really, I never talk about it or bring it up, so I'm not sure what their thoughts are. Yeah.
No, I'm curious because, one of the reasons we started the print shop here was because so many artists came to us asking where to get prints made, and we had nowhere to send them.
Yeah.
I'm like, there was a guy that used to print them at the banana factory, but he passed away, and no one kind of took that mantle afterwards. So that was like a 7-year gap in between when he passed and we started our little print shop here.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had to just tell people, I guess, go online or go to Dan's Camera. Dan's Camera's, that's more for family portraits. They don't do art prints per se.
Right.
I mean, they say they do, but it's the same people printing the stuff. Fine art printing, as you saw, hands-on working with me and working here, it's a very different approach.
Yeah.
And who's printing your stuff, it's going to very much determine what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Maybe this will put a thought in your mind when you talk to artists in the future about prints. Because I'm just curious because I've absolutely heard that sentiment before, and I've had collectors go into the print shop being very anti-print.
And to be clear, it's not that I believe
that
the print devalues the original work. It's just that people are beware.
Yeah.
That other people will think that about your stuff.
Yeah, but
I'm like,
but I honestly, I think this is the bullshit that makes it so hard for artists because it does make it more elitist. It makes it more elitist. It has to be one of a kind. If it's great art, why would you not want to reproduce it?
Mm-hmm. No, I know.
That just doesn't make any sense to me. Some rich person gets to have this amazing painting in their home and no one else gets to see it. Mm-hmm. There's elitism to that, and I think that's part of what turns off some people from the art world who aren't artists.
Yeah.
Right? And it's taught that way.
Yes.
There's this foundational, institutional thinking that make your stuff intentionally rare and ask the highest possible dollar for it. Well, you just cut out most of the population from enjoying your work. Mm-hmm. Because even artists, I don't go out to a lot of blue chip galleries. I just don't. Because I don't feel like I fit in there.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I started the alternative gallery. I got a bunch of street artist friends and people who punk and hip hop and these artists that make these funky sculptures that would never be welcome into these spaces. And how it is, we have a mix here of both fine art, street art, everything in between, right? I don't like these spaces that kind of, okay, you are free to curate your space however you want. When you make people feel like they don't belong because they're not from that style or from that world, man, you're selling yourself short. Because someone doesn't have to be a fine artist to appreciate fine art. Mm-hmm. And you should make that very clear. And if you kind of draw that line at the door, you're going to only get certain type of people in. And I think maybe that's what some people want. Mm-hmm. Again, it's their right to do so. But I feel like it would make things easier for artists if we're trying to get more people in the door. And I'm not talking about selling. Who cares about selling work? It's about people experiencing these things. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure when you first started making work, it wasn't about the money aspect of it. Mm-hmm. You were driven to create for some reason, right? Mm-hmm. And what would you do if you didn't have art in your life?
I wouldn't not have art in my life. It would be impossible. I wouldn't not. I would find a way.
You would find a way.
Yeah.
What if you never were exposed to art as a kid? What do you think would have happened?
Well, then that's a different upbringing, and I'd be a different person.
You'd be a totally different person.
It would be a different Abby.
So it's an impossible question to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious because
I've watched Back to the Future.
Yes. So you would just start disappearing right now.
It would be the time travel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need art. So therefore you are art.
Yeah.
I love it. I like to always ask artists because you've been at this for, since you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So a number of years you've been working, I'd say, professionally at this for, let's say, maybe a decade. Is that fair to say? So you have a decade under your belt as a working artist. Do you have any helpful information for those interested in pursuing studio art or maybe getting more involved with painting?
Well, actually, let me fix the decade, but probably a professional since more like 6 or 7.
Okay.
So that's about half of a decade. So
okay. A chunky half of a decade.
Yeah. And what my advice? A piece of advice?
Sure, yeah. For anyone that might be considering getting into studio art or just maybe wants to get more serious about painting.
Just a cliche of just make sure you're making art about something that you love and that it's, honest and it's coming from your heart is probably the most important part.
I don't think that's cliche at all. I mean, it goes very much in line. It's a different way of saying what I tell people all the time, create selfishly.
Yeah.
Start there. If you, as an artist, can create exactly what you want, no second thought, and make your living doing it, that's like best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have to make those other decisions in order to maybe put food on the table or pay bills, that's when you have to look at maybe more the commercial side of things, which, was what you've done with commissions. But it sounds like you have fun doing these commissions too.
Yeah.
And you knock them out quickly.
Yeah.
And these people find you, I'm sure, through a number of different outlets.
Yeah. It was very successful. And I mean successful as in I was not expecting more than 5 people to apply. And then it was like way more than that. And then it would grow each time. And then now I'm at the point where I'm not even advertising it or like sending out, posters about it. It's just word of mouth where like someone comes, they're like, I heard so-and-so did this, so now I want to do it.
Yeah, isn't it so funny how you hear that all the time? Like you get your first few customers and the rest should come word of mouth and then it actually happens.
Yeah.
And, good for you because it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it worked for you. And it's all about, I think, as an artist, finding your niche.
Mm-hmm.
And you did that and you're doing that. And it reminds me of my friend Andy, who was on an earlier episode of the podcast. She lives in Portland now. She had a studio here. She actually ended up doing kind of similar to what you do with just maybe snapping a photo and painting it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
In that kind of style of like a frozen moment in life.
Mm-hmm.
But she does it a lot with weddings.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think she did the first one as like a favor.
Yeah.
And then someone saw it and then they wanted one for their wedding.
Yeah.
And it became this like amazing ongoing thing for her.
Oh,
and
that's
now
really
it's her
cool.
bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's the main thing she does.
Yeah.
In fact, she says she does it too much and she wants to focus more on her own art.
Yeah.
But I mean, she gets paid to travel.
Yeah.
Her hotel is paid.
Mm-hmm.
They usually feed her.
Mm-hmm.
They pay her. Someone's painting live. Whether you're an artist or a non-artist, people love to watch art be created live, right?
They do.
I'm sure you do too.
Not as much as you'd think.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like to watch someone make art live?
Just myself.
You don't you don't see like a graffiti artist, someone creating, you just stop to watch like, wow.
I find it a little boring.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What's so boring about it? I'm curious. Like watching paint dry.
Yeah, it's like watching paint dry. I like watching myself do it because I have to pay attention.
Well, I feel like you're maybe you're trying to pay attention to certain things to maybe improve or do it that same way again. Wow, that brush stroked. Like, what do you watch for when you're watching yourself paint?
What do you mean?
Like you just said you watch yourself. Well, like what are you watching for? Are you watching it like it's a TV show?
Like I gotta watch. I'm not watching a recording of myself. I'm making
of course.
Yeah, no, I'm painting.
Yeah,
so
you're analyzing yourself.
So I have to watch myself as I paint. There is one person. Our Painted Lives is their YouTube channel, and I do like to watch them. It's a man and his partner or fiance now, I think, and he paints live and talks at the same time, and then she's also there for like banter and a little back and forth, and that's good. I like that, and he's a really good painter. Nicholas Uribe.
Okay, I'll have to put that in the show notes. Anything we mention, I try to include there. So.
Yeah.
I'll ask you for a link later just to make sure I have the right one.
Yeah.
Anything else you want the world to know about Abbey Rosko and her amazing paintings before we send off?
No.
No? Anything you want people to know about the upcoming open studio this weekend? What to expect?
I hope the elevator works.
I know what you mean. I got that problem. And if not, are there stairs? Maybe a pulley you can bring them up on?
Yeah, there'll be stairs.
Okay, look
I'm
for...
only on this. Okay, so the sign has the names of the artists, and to the right are the room numbers. It's not the floors.
She's not on floor 8. She's in room number 8.
Yeah, room 8.
Floor 2.
They're all on the second floor, so you have to go up one flight of steps.
That's not bad.
And there's an elevator. It should be working.
It better be working.
Yeah.
If not, let me know. I can sometimes make them work. Well, although I don't know what elevator that's working over there, so I can't really say. But yeah, hopefully it's a great weekend. It's 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., right?
That's right.
22 South 3rd Street, right around the corner from Connections Gallery. I mentioned that because I think that's kind of a landmark to most people in the art community here in the Lehigh Valley. They know of that right now. And how long they've had artists in there before? It's kind of recent, only the last couple of years since you've been there, or prior to that?
No, they've had one tenant, Mara, has been there since the early 90s.
So it is a known location for artists, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be too unfamiliar to people. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Amazing. Once again, we've been chatting with Abbey Rosko, a visual artist from Easton, PA. Abby graduated from Moravian University with a BA in studio art and continues to expand her craft, working mainly with oils and beautiful still life portraiture. This weekend, Abby will be having an open studio for those who want to view her work in person. Those dates are Saturday, April 27th and Sunday, April 28th at 22 South 3rd Street, room number 8 in Easton, PA from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, it's on the second floor. All that information as well as images of Abby's work can be found on her website, AbbeyRosko.com. That's ABBEY, Rosko, ROSKO.com. Abby, thanks so much for coming out and chatting art in the Art Bazaar. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I'm hoping we're very busy on Saturday, but I'm hoping I can swing by on Sunday to say hello to you.
All right.
We have a show on Saturday, so we're going to be getting ready for that and banging our head against a wall. Are you all prepared for it on Saturday?
Yeah.
You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Well, thank you so much, Abby. Hopefully we see you this weekend.
All right. Thank you.
If you're enjoying the Art Bazaar podcast, please help us grow by liking and subscribing to the podcast. We want to reach a worldwide audience to help bring attention to all of the amazing creators and unique folks we bring on. They certainly deserve it. And that's all for now. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time on Art Bazaar.